And there's another tie for the first place back at NLC. It's getting so hot. I mean, I don't know what to say. Obviously, predictions. We're dying out here.
I'm not doing so well. Yep.
It
I'm
happens.
back to -4. It's not great. It was -6
I'm
earlier
positive
yesterday.
again, guys. I'm positive again. Plus
I
one.
feel like,
Plus
I feel like
one.
the predictions are going to be getting increasingly close to net zero.
Exactly. We're
For
gonna end up
everybody.
the split. Everybody will be at like 2, 3 top. I don't even know anymore. But with this situation, we're gonna make it quick because we have the interview almost ready. So I want to understand a little bit from the draft itself, like, because I think it was the biggest takeaway from this situation. What do you guys think?
For me, the way Venom Crest put not Venom, I think Venom Crest put themselves into a hole, and it was very well executed from Verdant to pin them in it, because they drafted themselves no tank killing, and then Ornn got locked in.
Yeah, and I think Venom Crest went for a Venom Crest draft, right? They went for engaged, tip of the spear jungler that can snowball really heavily, particularly post that level 6 mark in the Nocturne. You've got Passion on a roaming support that can really do up with that Nocturne in a really good way. That's cool. And you had the Ezreal to allow the Bard to leave lane and do things elsewhere. Nico should be able to follow up with that dive and that snowball fine. But Verdant had that read like a book, the fact that they flexed the Ornn down bot, you have the Cassiopeia to make diving a bit of a nightmare anyway. You got the Xin Sao that gets to potentially pressure that the Nocturne early as well. It's just really clever drafting. And then where do you dive as the Nocturne this game consistently? How do you deal with the Senna ultimate? How do you kill the Ornn as the Ezreal, particularly if that's the target you have to hit before team fights because no one else is going to be in range? Difficult questions to answer and some solid attempts from Venom Crest. It was just really hard work.
You know what? Let's make those questions. Let's talk with Zubak that is waiting for us an interview for Venom Crest right now. We need to understand what happened inside of that game. I believe he's ready to jump into the interview. There you go. Zubak, welcome back to the interview. I know this was a rough one, but talk to me about the champion select, because it seemed like you had the plan going forward, but the damage was quite not there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, hello, you're quite right, I would say. I would say that our preparation wasn't ideal for this time. Although we didn't show up on max level, I would say. It was like really hard, I would say, to play, yeah.
So tell me, you get the Nocturne, and yesterday we saw a Nocturne play, but those ultimates were not working. For you, it is working. You got the lead, you got a substantial amount of money, but it just didn't translate to anything. So from that point onward, how can you call with your team and say, hey, we need to do this and that? Or did you feel like, if I'm getting all the kills, this is not going to be a good project?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was trying to do some plays because it felt like that enemies were kind of greedy because they were without flashes and they were just overstepping on some lanes, so I got quite a lead from that. Although I shouldn't be probably the one who should get the kills. Maybe if Ezreal could do all the kills, we could win the game and probably carry it through this, but I think that it was very hard, and yeah, I mean, it just didn't work out today.
With this in mind, you are tied up with them, with Verdant. How do you feel about that situation? Because it seems like the top of the mountain, like the top of the standings, is so close between all the teams. How do you feel with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling honestly like very happy, even though we lost today. I mean, nobody expected us to be on the top of the leaderboard, right? And now we are there, so I'm very happy about that. And yeah, I mean, I think that we will show up way more in the upcoming matches, and yeah, I mean, I just can't wait.
Well, let's see what happens for the next week. Thank you so much for the interview. I'll see you soon. Have a lovely one.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.
There you go. He knew, like, I'm getting all the kills. It shouldn't be me. It should be Ezreal. It should be Ezreal. Ezreal needs to get that farm.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that, right? We've seen this before with champions like Lee Sin a little bit as well. Some of these snowballing jokes, and it's less true with a Nocturne early, but you do hit a point where if your burst only now does half of someone's HP rather than all of it as that champion, it can be quite hard to play out the later stages of the games. It's fine getting a kill or two, but then you need other people on your team to finish up what you start. It does get to that point.
It's like a blessing and a curse, because you're sat there, 4-4. Oh, guys, I'm doing so well. Why can't the rest of the team help out in this instance? And then you find that you're the only one that's got the kills. And like I say, blessing and a curse. You know that you're doing great. It's come at the cost of some strength in the teammates. So a really tricky position to find yourself in.
The answer is just play Evelyn, and then if you get all the kills, it's fine because you win the game. No problem there.
No bias here either.
Well, at least Evelyn has
I
the
don't
same...
play that champion. Never.
Obviously, Evelyn has the same passive as Middlecott's mouse. It's Visible. Let's jump into the interview with PlayStation. It is ready for us on Verdant's side. Welcome to the show, PlayStation. You got the W. Obviously, my predictions are in shamble, but it is a big one, isn't it?
I mean, it felt good. It felt not really much to say other than this. Just vodka.
It's Brunsey.
I love it. You started building up the momentum and everything, but was that a trap at the champion select? As soon as you saw the Ezreal, was your team like, aha, gotcha?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, I think we kind of knew what they were gonna pick, and then we had a good answer into that. Yesterday, our draft was kind of bad, so we met up 2 hours before today and really did good preparation. So shout out to Coach Arnes for that.
Hey, not every player gives the shout out to the coach. This is a good one.
Always.
This is a good one.
Gotta appreciate those coaches.
So now
Coach
you're tied
Carter,
up
Coach
in
Carter.
first place. Do you think there's any team right now in the league that you're like, we can't win versus that team? We're kind of scared of them. Or are you comfortable like, I don't care who you meet in playoffs, we're good to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can beat any team. I mean, Lions Creed, they beat us yesterday, but I mean, I think if we hit our day, I think we can beat them. If they hit their day, I think they are probably the best team in the league. But I mean, I think we can beat anyone. So for playoffs, I think it's gonna be some nice best of 5 series. First of all, we gotta get there. But yeah, I think we will.
One final question for you before we go. Tell me something, PlayStation. If you look into your team, what would be the word you would describe your team's best trait?
Chaotic.
I love it! I love it. Thank you so much for that one. Have a lovely day, man, and congratulations on the W.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
I love the fact that it just comes in, bot cat.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, you know, I think he had the right idea, because I think the rest of us could do this, couldn't we? Hang on, there we go.
Mouse cat. Guys, I've got to go. I've got to report a murder. I'm really busy right now.
Am I wrong? Just out of
No.
interest.
Let's see who's
No.
the man of the match, the player of the match. Who got this one? Well, obviously, it's going for Yulbo with the Xin Zhao, getting so much attention on the map, providing so much as well. He got to a point where he died for 900 gold, but instantly the team was already there. It doesn't matter. Yulbo gets the MVP for this one, as we're about to jump into the second game of the day, Lions Creed versus Natives. Again, I gotta ask you, gentlemen, if I have to watch anyone, who am I watching?
We went a little bit back and forth on this, didn't we?
Yeah, we
It's like
did.
There was certainly some, not disagreement, because we were, I think we ended up on the same point, but we didn't end on. So our head-to-head that we've picked was Rusty versus Jinjo.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to really highlight Nulu as well as a.
Yeah.
You need to check this out as well, because that's a crucial point for Natives, I think, specifically. They've been really crutching on Nulu, it's felt, quite heavily. For a matchup specifically, though, it is down in that bot lane. I think that Jinjo versus Rusty Sniper is going to be a really important point. If Jinjo runs away with the match, he probably runs away with the game. If Rusty can maybe tighten up some of those laning issues that we've kind of seen from the Natives bot lane at this point, then there's an opportunity then for people like Nulu to maybe have an impact on the game.
I think part of the reason we were debating a little bit is because that bot lane is going to be key to how this game plays out. Jinjo has been by far the most consistent member of Lions Creed. But on the other side of it, part of the reason I was saying, look, well, maybe it has to be Nulu versus Jinjo, as like as we're kind of having this debate, was because Nulu has been the consistent part of Natives. I think I went to look at his stats, and I'll double check it again now, but he's had over 800 DPM average this split. Like, that is really good, whatever level of player you're doing. And yes, he's playing things like Victor and Orianna, where you can put out pretty consistent high-end DPM just because you're hitting everybody in a team fight all at once. But even so, like, that's a big deal. And considering a lot of the rest of the team has, on both sides, has sometimes been very hot and cold in terms of the level they are showing, the fact that these two are consistent, the fact that Rusty, if he can be consistent and hold up against Jinjo, you have to put your eyes there because they've been the rocks the teams have been built around.
Yeah, I mean, like, just to highlight as well, the highlight clip that we flew in the break had Rusty on Jhin of all champions, diving between tier 2 and tier 3 turrets mid lane on his own, off of his own back, off of his own setup that he's using with Deadly Flourishes. That's the highs that he brings to this roster as well. It's not to say that this is like can Rusty Sniper, sacrifice enough to make sure that he loses gracefully. No, it's what version of Rusty Sniper are we getting down in that bot lane?
So if you had to describe Native's gameplay or play style, how would you describe it, both of you?
Oh, I thought this is
Volatile.
Volatile, yeah. I think that probably has to be the problem because sometimes it's felt like take the game yesterday. It's actually probably a really good example of that. They took fights when they really weren't ready for it and bought into the chaos that was brought by DMG, and they lost it. That said, they still managed to make some really clutch catches and keep themselves in the game they didn't really have a right to be in, actually, in a lot of ways after the early game. And the fact, a lot of that was on the fact that you were getting some good picks from the support role, that actually Nulu was just doing unspeakable things with the shockwaves. But the fact they put themselves in that position in the first place has to raise an eyebrow or two. And it is some of those chaotic moments where they buy into too many of the big fights that maybe they should stay away from that has been hurting them.
On the other side, though, if you jump into Lion's Creed, we're talking about a team that either completely destroys the enemy or have no idea what they're doing in a map. Am I correct to assume this?
I would say are just not on the same page for like the deficit, because you're quite right. Sometimes they will just turn on a dime and they'll slam a team. That has happened already. But I think Middlecourt actually did a really good job at highlighting when he was on Desk last week quite what the issue with Lions Creed was during week 2, and it was that they just weren't actually moving together on the right timings. And yesterday we got to see a glimpse of that. The reason they initially fell behind in that matchup was because they went for a fight around the grubs and Banderas moved after his jungler needing to. So Johan goes in, 1v2, gets killed. Banderas then moves in, he's 1v3, gets killed. And in the mid lane, Tempt is going, I'm probably not going to follow that arc and I'll just, catch a wave mid lane. But it's that initial desync that had been plaguing them, and especially in week 2, it, cost them a couple wins. But like you say, there's definitely that high end as well that they've got as a team.
I will add on a caveat there as well, because I want to call back to the interview we had yesterday with the coach. It's Baguette, who's the coach of Lions Creed, if I remember correctly. And he was saying part of it as well. Like, look, my players and my team just aren't used to playing when the scoreline is 0-0-0. We are so used to having a snowball going on that our players are much more used to playing out these games where you can take a 1v2, where you're strong enough to maybe stick your nose in somewhere a little bit more aggressively and command more space. And actually, if you are playing a game at 10 minutes and no one's really got kills, and you don't in particular, you have to play the game out differently, often more coordinated, because you can't do all your own stunts. And this is a team of players that really love to do all their own stunts. And that has been burning them a little bit, even if it does feel like they've gotten a bit more cohesive in terms of leave Banderas on a side lane, even if it's on something like a Gwen that can play a 1v1 and play towards the bot lane. That's kind of helped the structure a bit. There is still just that element of how do we play when the game isn't all about me that's still being figured out a little bit.
So we're talking about either go broke or go bold. I mean, you didn't do yours, by the way, Rudude, but it's okay. If you want to do it on the spot, if I can put you on the spot, you might try to give me like some sort of go bold or go broke, but I'll give you time. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be right now. I know you.
Do you want one for this game? Is that what you were after?
You know what? Why not? Why not?
Okay, you're so kind.
Surprise me.
Go bold or go broke. So this is like hot takes.
Yeah.
I have to give you a blazing take and find out is that Jinjo's going to get gapped this game. Is that feels like a blazing take?
Why?
So I think Rusty
you can't just give a hot take and go, yeah, I've got no reasoning for
this.
this.
Yeah, you can. So I think Rusty Sniper will be able to outperform in the bot lane.
Oh.
And that 2v2 is just going to go one way, and I think that it's going to be.
Is that just vibes? Is that just vibes, or have you got like a theory for this?
These are all just vibes. Don't give me all bold or brokes are just vibes. They're not. I'm not backing these things up with facts and evidence. Nobody's come into this and gone, These are my blistering hot takes, and here's all of the proof, the mountain of evidence that I've got to come with it. Guys, don't give me that.
Guys, I'm really sorry. I have no idea what he's talking about, to be perfectly honest. Like, I love Rusty Sniper as a guy. I think he's a great AD carry, but Jinjo has just been that little bit better this split. So if he's saying that Rusty Sniper is going to be getting the advantage out of the bot lane, it'd be great to see. But honestly, I think Jinjo's got this matchup in the bag.
Jack, why are you here, mate? He can't hear me. Can't hear.
He can't hear you. No.
I wanted to ask you about my hand tattoo and what he thinks about me getting it, but he's missing out on a really important.
You know what? I'm actually very upset. I've came in. I've done Arsharom's little bit that he needed me to do, and then I've tried to make, and then I've justified it. I've gone one step further because Initialize tried to call me out on it, and he's gone, "That's not good enough." And when I've, tried to back myself up, roommates come in, told me that I'm wrong, and told me that none of this even matters.
Like, I have not had Nymera do that to me yet. He is in the other room. I think he is watching. So he comes in and does the same.
He's waiting in the shadows.
He could be. Like, it could all go wrong yet. He's probably just heard this and like, I've doomed it myself.
Go broke. Tell us, Nymera, it's your time to shine. No, there's a small delay.
If he comes in now, this is your fault, guys.
I love chaos, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I love chaos. So when we're talking about both these teams, I do believe like they're both contenders not only for playoffs, but even like first or second place. Even though we have so many of those teams right now for NLC, I don't know. I'm splitting between like we're going to dominate EMA or we're just gonna be stumped. I still have no idea. We're week 3, but this is NLC feeling. This is how we live. I've learned my lesson. But not only that, when you look into the top lane, Banderas versus Murphy, that's a big matchup. I know you guys want to highlight like bot and stuff like that, but it's a big matchup.
No, but you're not wrong. I think the thing is, I think it's not going to be a lane that's going to be played around, but it's going to become that additional kind of it's like your side mission. You know when you play your RPGs, and you get those optional mission completion bonuses. Like you got this little extra thing you can do. And the top lane is a little bit like that. It was like serious value if you complete it, but it's not necessary. But yesterday we saw like the Trundle was doing like nearly game-ending things. Like how on earth was he on inhibitor turrets? Like at part with you, like again, Banderas playing things like the Gwen can turn up a 2 to 3 items and be a really scary point. If like the Lucian is the main win condition, the fact you had that Gwen as the extra was kind of pretty scary too. And that could be something to keep our eyes on as that kind of like caveat to the game. But I'm looking down the screen.
A really important thing before we jump into the champion select, there was a small delay into this game. A player was a little bit late, and that means that natives are going to lose their 5th ban. So they'll be able to ban all champions until the 5th one. That's going to be skipped because of a small delay.
Do we know who was late? Can we name and shame them? Is that allowed?
I know the person who was late, but I'm not going to shame him.
Okay, that's fine.
But if we have to shame anyone, middle caught, please get him out.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, Rudy's like, I'm not defending him after he came and interrupted me earlier. That's it.
I wasn't defending him anyway. I'm all aboard the middle caught hate trade.
So, we did a whole segment. I kind of like pushed for it about why Lions Creed are actually a really good Lucian team earlier today. Johan really helped set up that bot lane for it. They first picked the Lucian. It says a lot about what they're kind of feeling and how strong they're feeling about playing like that. And despite the fact that you kind of said Middlecott called it out last week, and there's some truth to it, that sometimes they've been a little bit desynced on their timers, they've still made the Lucian work despite that, which is quite impressive. Yeah. Varus Maokai on the other side, though, is really nasty, and Maokai in particular can make Lucian's life really tricky because he throws down the ultimate as Lucian dashes forward, and he realizes he's way too far up a lane, and there's a giant wall of wood coming along to try and stop his way of playing the game.
I also want to highlight this could be a Maokai support angle. It's been played quite frequently, maybe not necessarily at high levels, but it's actually got super high win rate right now. Actually, Ole played it in LCS, so it's getting some glimpses, and I think that versus a Lucian specifically, a champion that needs to kind of dash in, it does make it difficult dashing onto a Maokai who's got that twisted advance.
Yeah, exactly that. I think Azir as well is not bad in the sense you have now got this double artillery piece backline. You stay miles and miles and miles away. I would love, however, to see... Oh, no.
Is it happening?
This is the 3-minute delay.
The 3-minute delay! And I love the fact that he was so pixelated, it didn't even show himself.
He just came in and executed me with his lightsaber. Like,
there's no proof that was Nymera, guys. There's no proof that was Nymera.
Darth Nymera came in and just put me to the sword.
The Dark Age of Nymera. So LeBlanc is going to be the next one. Natives are not going to be able to ban this last one. We talked about that previously. They're going to miss that ban. On Lions Creed, though, they're focusing on that Poppy. They want to stop that mobility, even though Varus has none. That's a way to look into this. They want to go in, they want to kill, and they want to get out.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll say here, just before Rudu steps in, there is a real world here where Banderas looks for a Zac top. Zac into particularly the Azir and the Varus, when you've got the Vi alongside it, your engage range is way longer than either of those two champions can stay safe. Fnatic got ruined by it when G2 ran that combo. If they're feeling confident, it's really good with the Lucian on top of that. Your ability to just murder someone from 2 screens away is really, really obnoxious. I'd keep my eye on that.
what we can already see from the Lions Creed composition, and I think Arsham sort of highlighted this already, is like very pick oriented. They're very, very strong through the early game. That first item power spike is definitely going to hit Lions Creed quite hard. At the minute, they're lacking something to gate them through the late game. If we get to 35 minutes, these teams are at parity. It becomes a lot more difficult for the Lucian to operate and get that DPS down. So they're looking, I think, for something in the mid lane from Tempt, something in the top lane for Banderas that will give them the extra sauce to get them over the line in the late stages of the match.
Okay. Well, with the LeBlanc gone, they've
So it's
gone
Maokai
towards...
jungle.
Yeah.
That's
That
my
feels to be the
takeaway,
case. And that's
right.
probably not a bad thing in the sense that it means if you see the Vi going super deep somewhere, you're more easily out on the map to respond. As long as I think as Yaki keeps an eye on the Lucian, because let's be real, it's a Lucian game, the chances are you're playing around it. There's the Hui. I think this might be a Zac lock now as well, because the point is you have those two, and you CC combo so hard that Hui can follow up from 2 screens away with the QW, in particular that Severing Bolt, and you can't avoid it. There's no dodging it because you're just locked in one place for forever. So that would be, I suspect, my angle here. Something that can do something similar. You could Ornn, and that does a similar kind of job, but the composition remains the same. Whoever gets CC'd by Viol and Ornn gets hit immediately by Hui and Lucian.
My question here then is, do we just see Smurfay? I think Smurfay will default to something different
Trundle.
other than the to the Trundle, excuse me.
Oh, do you?
I really think that the Trundle was I'm ego checking an auto-filled support player, and this composition as well doesn't lend itself to a Trundle quite as well, because it feels very Teamfight-esque with a Varus, with an Azir, those double artillery as you highlighted.
Yeah.
Something to act more as it doesn't even have to be a front line, but just act as a team fighter feels more in line for natives.
Yeah, I think with this as well, the way we've seen Aatrox's play into tanks currently normally being Cassante, but I think it'll be very similar for the Ornn, and of course it used to be a matchup there, is people are really rushing lethality with the Profane Hydra on Aatrox. It's quite an expensive item, but once you get there, what it means is you become a threat on the backline, and into something like Hui, if you are running that teleport angle, you can really threaten the Lucian or the Hui if they ever end up with their front line disappearing from them, and that becomes that kind of, that optional side mission win condition.
So with this in mind, what are we seeing? Like, final words before we toss it to the casters.
Skill expression needed from Lions Creed, right? They've drafted this Lucian. They need to play as a team once again to get that going. Hui is going to be very good at getting Prio in mid lane and aiding that bot side duo, so they've got all the tools to do what they need to. It's just whether or not they can execute again.
One of these teams will jump into first place as well with the victory. The other one will be staying in the shadow. It's up to them to see who's going to climb, who's going to be fighting, or who's going to be forgotten. Without further ado, let's toss it to Veteran, who's probably sad and middle cut. I didn't say anything.
Oh god! Oh,
no matter how bad things get, I'm not you in NLC Spring 2020.
yeah, no.
You know, like that's where I'm at right now. Both drafts here, though, actually fairly cohesive. Actually, pretty clear win conditions on both sides. I would ultimately say both teams are playing out perfectly. I actually do favour the Lucian Nami thing, right? Which, obviously, big shock horror when it comes to anyone who's watched Tier 1 League of Legends, but we're not there anymore. This actually has a really high win rate in the ERLs because you do get a lot more skirmishes, you do get a lot more fights. The entire composition seems to be based heavily around those skirmishes and fights, and Ornn was a brilliant bit of setup against both the Azir and the Varus. Against Azir, you want something that doesn't care about the terrain he's able to build with that ultimate. Ornn does that, and Varus, I mean, pretty much just has to insta-flash when he sees the Ornn Horn coming in hot. So, good setup, double R buttons on the Lucian Nami. That stuff is going to roll and roll and roll. If Varus has the game of his life, he's your counter there, but otherwise, I do favour draft on the left, not draft on the right when we get in game here, but I could still see it go either way. It's not like either draft's bad. They both have really good team fights, just one requires a bit more mistakes than the other.
Yeah. And I think it is about that. How easy is your life going to be?
Yes.
I think it's very, very difficult to exist as an Azir, to exist as a Varus, because, like you've already mentioned, there are so many ults that can just get thrown your way, and if you do end up dodging them oh, well, congratulations, you've walked out of the team fight, you weren't participating, you go back in and everyone else has died.
Yes.
I think that natives, they do have that ability to exist at range to a certain extent, and I'm intrigued to see what Smurfy is actually going to be able to bring to this composition, because in terms of the Ornn, the Aatrox doesn't really care. If the Vi's ulting him, not really the target you should be going for, and if he just gets one kill in those team fights, he can really start to reset and take over.
Yeah, I mean, his job is essentially to act as that juggernaut. So long as he prevents the big Lucian R coming in hot, then everything could be fine. Hui also will have issues getting on towards that Varus. Hui gets defeated by mega range, but that's also assuming perfect spacing on the side of this Varus, right? That's assuming Azir never gets a bit too hyphy and goes in, though I do think Azir is within acceptable ranges for a Hui. There's always an asterisk there, right? And the asterisk does feel like I am assuming a higher level. That being said, right, if anything goes wrong, Azir Varus just delete the first Baron that they see, delete the first raid that they see. If you're not on these objectives to contest them at that moment and willing to immediately start a fight, you will lose these objectives. And it's going to be red side Varus. So even if you're on the Baron first, you do still have to fight. That's the one big Achilles heel. You have no choice. You cannot play this slow. There's only fast, hard, and winning now, because you're not going to get to do that later.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the real issues that Lions Creed have with this composition. It's the CC that comes first. There isn't damage that you can do before the CC comes through to sort of whittle down your opponents and cause them to scatter a little bit. If the Call of Forge God isn't great, well, if it isn't just boom, if it's like going off to the side or something, just like very high-level League of Legends analysis.
I mean, I appreciate the visualization. Like, the visualization is very helpful.
It's an exaggeration of the situation that could play out advantageously for natives if it were to occur.
True. And you know what? Nulu got a lot of highlights, is a big X factor. He is a phenomenal player. This Azir has been a big comfort pick for him. I think he could definitely pull it off, right? Lucian Army, still something difficult to execute. Maybe they can get something off on the Varus, but they still have to do with this Azir, and the Azir does have enough escape tools, does have enough engage tools, does have enough disengage tools to somewhat make it work. That Ornn, though, that Ornn's always going to be... That's always going to be a bit of an X factor we are finally getting in game, right? I'm not doing your job for you, Middlecott, so I should really just... you're the guy that it feels like should be saying, you know, we're getting in game.
Okay. Okay. Hey, everyone, we're in game now. Lions Creed up against natives. Winner ties up at the top of the standings 4-2 with Venomcrest and Verdant, who played in our first game today. Loser goes to 3-3. And honestly, I feel like we're getting to the point where you never want to be dropping games, veteran, but dropping games at this point in the season is oh so detrimental because the top of the standings is so clumped up, is so bunched up. It feels like you only need to have a bad week or a bad couple games that you can fall out of the playoff race entirely.
Yeah, no, 100%. We are approaching that halfway mark. We are approaching the part where you should really just start putting all of your points, I think, on the biggest like win level disparity between the teams. That's a story for another time. You are definitely getting to the point, though, where we're solidifying how that playoff race goes. That being said, this is NLC, right? We've always had a very close tie towards the end of the splits for those final playoff spots. I don't think it's going to be any different. 3-2 does show that these teams are quite evenly matched, and honestly, the potential on both of these lineups means that they are evenly matched at quite a high level for this league.
Yeah. I will say, though, it does feel like for Lions Creed and for natives that the potential hasn't really been realised as much. I think the ceiling that we're looking at for Lions Creed is probably, I'm not going to say probably, it's definitely the highest out of any team in the league just because of the raw star power on their roster. And then for natives, they've got these mix of experienced players. You're looking at Nulu, you're looking at Yeku, but then people like Rusty Sniper, Shwabi Katami, who we haven't really seen too much of at the ERL 1 level, who definitely have something to show, but haven't really revealed all their cards in the most promising way just yet.
Well, but someone who did watch Johan in Prime League Tempting Turkey, Kasing in, I'm going to let chat guess where he went, and Jinjo on his future endeavours. I think star power may be a little bit diminished over the course of the last year. This is a team that wants to prove that they can still be the absolute top of the crop on an individual level. But what can't be denied is that bringing together a lineup where the core of it has already worked together before, that should confer significant advantages as a team. If we want to praise Venom Crest for that before they get absolutely stomped, then we're also going to praise Lions Creed for that as well. Because having that kind of plug-and-play ability, that's really what wins you games in League of Legends. And that's why Lions Creed were, I think, rightfully rated quite highly coming into the split. Natives, they got that star power. It's a lot of players that have very strong ideas on how to play the game, so long as they can all get on the same page, though. That's the question. That's the question that the Lions Creed figure was answered. They will be on the same page, but if Jakey and Selfie, aka Nulu, don't necessarily agree on the way to go, then it doesn't really matter how much star power you have there, right? If they're not all going to be on the same page as working as a team. So, still a bit of a process for both teams here. For Natives, a bit more forgivable than for Lions Creed. Lions Creed need to just be proving themselves, right? Rather than developing into that cohesive unit.
Shwami Katami looking for something in the bottom lane, but
Such a nice
Jinjo showing off that even with all those years of experience under his belt, he's still got those fast fingers. Johan maybe going to be getting into a brawl with Yaki here, but chooses not to go forward onto the Maokais. Both junglers will back away from each other.
Jakey's still one of my favourite ERL junglers, put on a phenomenal performance last time that I was on the desk as well. Hoping to see more from him this time, but tempt Johan. It's a 2v2 mid-jungle duo. I mean, I'm pretty sure I gave at least one of them MVP, and I'm trying to remember if I ended up giving it to Tempt and Johan, but I was basically choosing between the two last time that they were playing together in the NLC. Definitely, they have the level of map control to make Jakey's life quite hard. He shouldn't assume certain things that he's been able to assume before. Vi is in his jungle off of that scouting on the bot side, going straight through mid, enabling Tempt to take some pretty aggressive trades. And yeah, he does have Jakey's numbers somewhat. It's not turning into a huge effort yet, into a huge advantage, but the effort is there.
Yeah, and a little bit interesting to me, neither jungler actually ended up taking it back there because of the small skirmish that they had. Well, very, very small skirmish, looking at each other in the bot side jungle, then walking into top side to contest that Rift Scuttler. They've both got back to clearing their camps, and that actually means that Johan is going to be straight onto the Void Grubs when they spawn.
Yep, I mean, you had Maokai sighted on towards the bot side, so Ornn did have much more freedom to do trades on top side. And this has led to this level of priority that Vi is now taking advantage of. Straight on towards the first set of Kevins. If Jakey wants to deny the 5 Kevins barrier, he has to do it on the next round. Otherwise, you could have a pretty good secondary win condition on the side of Lions Creed. But something you're never going to get is you're not going to get 5 Grubs now on towards that Aatrox. That side quest to steal a phrase from Initialize is not going to be available to them, of having Smurf go onto side lane, get priority, and then pivot off of that onto flanks. He's not going to have the advantage of the 5 Kevins, potentially 6, to do that now.
Yeah, with this being taken though, it does mean that Yeki is going to have a little bit of time on the bot side to go for a small invade onto the Raptors and prio over onto the Drake. Interesting to see that Rusty Sniper and Shwami Katami both actually taking a reset. So Lions Creed do have more numbers in the bottom side of Summoner's Rift at the moment, which might make it difficult for Natives to go for this Drake in trade.
Yep, I mean, by giving up those Kevins and going for the camp on top side and immediately pressing B, he made sure he's at the same item parity Johan is now, but knew he had the timer of the Kevins, plus the timer of the recall, plus the timer of getting out of base to do something. Basically, an additional camp. You're trading that objective for the potential to get on the map for an additional camp, and Jakey has taken that additional camp away from Johan, and then on his retreat, the exit objective is the Drake. Very, very mechanical stuff coming out from Jakey here, obviously not in the micro way we normally talk about it, but the gears are turning. This is the jungle machine that we see taking decisions very, very easily and just moving about and making them seem like natural ones to take at this point, as they should be at this level.
The jungle machine.
It
Not
is,
quite drum and bass, but I like it.
I mean, it's being a PvE role, I feel like jungle is a role that you can figure out more intuitively than other lanes. I do think you can figure out bot lane as well, but a lot of it will be more based on small movements by your opponent than jungle will, for example, right? So in jungle, I have these timings. Johan can do a lot of micro movements within those timings, but with these timings, for sure, I can get one extra camp and an exit objective, right? On his side. I have the time to do all of those roams. So there's a way that the gears turn there that they don't necessarily do in lanes that I think is really beautiful about jungling. The problem with jungling is looking at chat in solo queue, and that definitely removes the beauty from it and replaces it with something very horrifying, very eldritch. I'm never reinstalling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the benefit of playing jungling competitive, because you're not going to be seeing that where you might be hearing it through your headset.
Gotta say, you have to live with it, man. Can you imagine living with your solo queue chat as a jungler? Could you?
Oh, no, I absolutely could not.
No.
8 and a bit minutes into the game. Reason that we're talking about the jungling so much, I believe, is well because it's very, very interesting, but also there hasn't been too much action in terms of the kill feed going on thus far. Lucian, often seen as a champion that you want to be snowballing a fair bit with, and Jinjo showing a lot of restraint there, not dashing in to try and finish off Shwami Katami.
I mean, the win conditions here are very, very simple. Lucian Nami wants to get to that one item where their ultimate is going to start to have really big power in the skirmishes, right? Azir, Hui, they also want to get to an additional item as well. Aatrox, he wants to scale up before he can go straight in on towards the Ornn. Everybody has this incentive to not break, not go for really aggressive trades. There isn't really a specific time on either side like there was last game, which was a big kills game.
Oh, flash from Johan. Rusty Sniper responding, but still going to get caught by the cease and desist. Here comes the roots here from Yakin. They're turning it around onto Kasing. First blood secured for natives, and Johan just about able to slide out of Yaki's path before Rusty Sniper snipes him down.
Yep, one was able to... So, right there in that fight, very good decision by Jakey to jump straight on towards the Vi there. The other side was already dead. Vi was the only real threat there, so he locked them down, saved Varus in the process. Rusty Sniper potentially overextending there, but he did do it while jungler was bot side. The reason that we haven't had so much is because both junglers' jobs right now are just to make sure the other one can't interfere. Right there, Johan thought he was finally free to capitalize on something, thought Rusty Sniper had finally done this in a scenario where Jakey wasn't able to match. But lo and behold, Jakey was right there. The game still looked like it could stall out a bit, but instead, through those micro plays, was just a huge victory for natives on the bot.
Ooh, lane swap here actually coming through. Nulu pathing his way down to the bottom side. Obviously on the Azir, you've got very strong wave clear, and with that teleport, if anything does break out on the north side of Summoner's Rift, you're going to be able to join your team. But with Shwami Katami and Rusty Sniper moving into the mid, that gives all the prio in the world over to natives to take away these grubs, and more importantly, deny the 6 stack grubs away from Johan.
Yep, 5-6 stack not happening anymore for Lion's Creed. That has been denied. The swap was a really good way to do it. I really do like seeing this swap done for First Herald, for example, but if these grubs are a potential win condition in the game, I say by all means do it. It also does take advantage of the, we shall say, delayed backs that ended up occurring from the skirmish on towards bot side. So it's a good response all around for that, and now they can just transition to the lanes back as the wave is meeting on bot.
Banderas might actually be able to get Smurfer into kill range. Still has the Call of the Forge God flash available for the Aatrox. Uses it to get just out of range. Heals up, but not enough. He's on the Ornn, but he still gets solo kills. That's Banderas.
So it was so funny, like the sequence. I feel like he managed to press almost every button in the wrong order, and he still manages to get the kill under Aatrox's tower. So that must feel quite demeaning if your Smurf right there got smurfed on by Banderas. Hats off to him. Ornn is ahead, guys. Definitely not something that you hear and think, man, we've definitely won the game. But it is a very good sign for Lion's Creed, who are looking to find an advantage anywhere. They may have found a chink in the natives' armor. Let's see if they can ram a spear through it.
Yeah, and I think impressively for natives is that we didn't really see that opening present itself from the bottom lane. I think that Rusty Sniper and Shwami Katami had pretty poor showings yesterday as Lion's Creed looked to get something going in the bottom lane, but Yaki here once again to respond with the ultimate. Johan though going to go back onto the Maokai. Shwami Katami able to dash away before Tempt
TPs in to make it a 4v3 and make it a kill in favor of Lions Creed. 2 for 2 now on the scoreboard.
Look what they did to my boy there. Jakey goes in, looks like a very, very good play, but the TP comes in hot. So now what do you respond with? Nulu can't get down there on time. He doesn't have TP himself. Nice by Jinjo to try and make sure that the wave resets on bot side, but it was unlikely to get more than that. Nulu, though, going ham on that tower in the midsection. Yes, there is now a gold lead on the other side on the Hui, but that's getting mitigated by the second by Nulu's play in the mid lane. This also secures an exit position for natives to start up this Drake. They can exit via the mid lane where they have full priority.
A very even game so far, which it's an absolute treat for us, I think, when you've got two rosters who have as much potential and as much skill available to them coming into the mid game, where one of them doesn't just have a completely overwhelming lead, makes for much more interesting moves on the map and in terms of the team fights too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite an even game up to a point, but then at that point, I do think these clashes will be... We're going to see a lot of 3-for-3s, we're going to see a lot of 4-for-4s. You watched the first one just be an ace for 0, by the way. Once we get to those one-item spikes, it does look like a good situation for Lucian Nami to start fighting, but it's on them to be aggressive. Right, if natives just kite back, if Rusty Sniper plays really, really well with his range, they can stall out all of the all-in tools that Lions Creed have and then go for the re-engage. And I'm pretty sure Jakey, as he's already demonstrated, very happy to go for that re-engage later. The microcosm of these skirmishes, that is what the broader team fights are going to look like, right? Lions Creed think that they can get there all in, and natives, they have to be able to counter it with their own, extend that fight, and then they can win. That's what all the 5v5s are going to look like. It's going to be a long one, it could be a bloody one, or it could be done in about 2 team fights.
Newly dashing forward. Tem's actually going to be dropping the ult down onto the Azir. Not too much damage just yet! Never mind, actually, able to pick up the solo kill, take down the Emperor of Shurima.
I'm not going to act like Nulu was playing pixel perfect there or something, but I do think Hui does feel comfortable going in towards Azir. I think that is more of the range where Hui feels like she can get the kill. It's a he, actually, you know, where he can get the kills, where he can get the advantages. So if you do walk in and just start altering like that on Azir, I think this is the way it should go every time.
Oh, playing forward, looking forward, could be in danger. The flash from Yakey, but instantly cleansed out. Kasing with the disengage. Jinjo able to run his way out of there. The roots come through. They'll grasp at Jinjo's feet, but not take him out. Both summoner spells burnt by the Lions Creed AD carry, but he stays alive.
Yep, they're now in the midsection there. The ultimate is still up, so if Azir does decide that he's feeling lucky, he's not going to feel that luck for very, very long. And the Herald collapses down in favor of Lions Creed. Jakey being on the bot side there gave them all the info that they needed. That's a really big pickup, because if you're looking at how close a lot of these skirmishes and fights are, you have to think that if you want to break open a part of the game, it's going to be of a trade, and then that Herald is going to be really big when you're trading against them.
Temp walking up, really wants to deny this first tower going down in Rusty Sniper, but he's going to get it regardless. Here comes the Chains of Corruption, but Johan responding onto the Varus. Tempt is going to burn down to the Ignite in the end as the TP comes through from natives. Yakey diving onto Kasing as Smurfette looks for Johan with the Darkin Blade, and Rusty Sniper, the other Darkin on the team, finishes him off with the Piercing Arrow.
Well, we've been talking about Lucian one item, you can get your all-in, you can get the full channel of that R, and you can start deleting people. The one guy not in that fight, other than the Ornn, was the Lucian. So the one guy that was able to get ahead solo, or arguably Hui did actually have that 1v1 later on, was not there, and it's crucially the pivotal point of the entire draft. Nulu doesn't really care about Banderas here, it seems like.
No. Well, he might be forced to care. It's the Forge God is called. No. And then runs right on out of there. Hexgate going to be pulled to get Nulu away. But what a turnaround right from yesterday here for natives. But going down against DMG, bottom of the table team in, honestly, quite embarrassing fashion at times. I know that Rusty Sniper tweeted out after the game going, embarrassing performance from myself. Well, he has absolutely turned it around in the span of 24 hours. 2-0-3, 1k gold lead up on Jinjo, rapidly approaching his second item.
I mean, if you have the Lucian bot, I understand going for the match play there and trying to get your all in, but given that they didn't, just playing for 2 lanes and using your Herald to equalize in a situation where you'd otherwise be behind on tempo is going to be the better play for Lions Creed. But the insistence on doing that play bot side with Johan and Tempt, maybe the synergy that those two have historically had, maybe that's biting them in the rear here, you know? I'm trying to think of a polite way to finish that.
A polite way to say...
Yeah.
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 Well, you attempted the analogy. I think we got away with it just about here. Jinjo, very far up in mid lane, is going to get caught by the Chains of Corruption, able to dash back out of there. Piercing arrow charged up, fired from the quiver. Another kill for Rusty Sniper in 15 seconds before the Hex Tech Drake Soul point spawns. Natives can move right on over there.
Yep, the only reason that would ever be a good call is if Vi is in position to just slam R, Tempt is in position to just slam R, Nami is in position, honestly probably beforehand, to slam R. If they all slam R on it, then Lucian can be there. Otherwise, what you just saw will be demonstrated on repeat. They have to be confident with the Lucian, or moments like that are never going to go in their favor. Natives are the team extruding confidence at this point. They've been very clear about what they want to do. Jakey, Rusty Sniper, even Nulu, even in maybe arguably an instance where perhaps he shouldn't have been quite so confident, and Smurf as well, probably in the same category, but the confidence is there, which means they're all on the same page. And if they're all on the same page, it really doesn't matter what book you're reading if you're not able to turn over to the next one, because at the end of that story, right now, it looks like a Natives win.
Yeah. Fairy tale stuff from them, and it is a Shakespearean tragedy right now from Lions Creed. I thought that after yesterday they were sort of reinvigorated coming back into the game, but unfortunately it's been a little bit more of the same from them thus far. Definitely not out of touching distance completely, but this Lucian emphatically hasn't been able to get off to the races. And if I'm looking down the rest of the team, yeah, Tempt's doing well, but we don't have many other damage sources besides that.
Yeah, I mean, this Lucian will still hit like a truck, but we haven't had a single team fight where he's being able to get a full channel of his R. He either hasn't been a part of the fight, or nobody else pressed R in that moment where he thought he could go in. The coordination isn't there. The coordination is needed. Maybe that's going to be the differentiating factor. Not individual positioning, but just pure coordination. And at the beginning, and I still do insist, that should be in favor of Lions Creed. 3 of their players, a very core part of their lineup, has played together before. Or was that just all Kiba the whole time? Who knows? It's just Kiba was just the puppet master, micromanaging everything.
He was just there. Well, I mean, he's a pretty damn good player. What is that, rank 6 or something on Korean solo queue?
Phenomenal interviews as well, which is what really matters.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Like, funny, good at League of Legends. What more do you need in a man, really?
True.
My ideal partner aside, we do have Natives here gaining the mid lane priority. Dragon in a few minutes' time as Lions Creed look for that fight in the mid lane, but yeah, Yakey just presses one button and it's completely pushed back.
I will say that the Lucian R pretty much did get his full channel.
Yakey, what are you doing there? He just stood in the way of the Rift. Herald and Mayburn down to the ult at the end, but he stays alive. And Tempt does not finally. Johan's going to be able to take him down on the other side, but he is so far away from the rest of his team that he's not going to be able to help them out. Banderas, pretty damn tanky, just avoiding the grand entrance, but still chased down by Natives. Infernal Chains connecting, not going to pull him back, but it's a rampage kill for Rusty Sniper, and Natives just look like the better team.
Absolutely do appreciate Johan's full committal there to get the kill that they opened up on. The mental note for next time, maybe not opening up on the Maokai, because it does seem like the damage wasn't quite there for the Lucian. Did get the full channel of the R off before the ultimate from Maokai interrupted it. It even looked like the follow-up burst was pretty good, but the Maokai R prevented the rest of the team being able to get on top on the follow-up. You either were not far up enough as a team at the start, or you were just prevented getting there by the Maokai R. Either way, doesn't seem like the one to pick. It kind of needs to be Rusty Sniper. It needs to be Nula at this point. It could even be the Aatrox. But JP, strength to strength. Tanks in Season 14, man.
At the start of every season, it seems, tanks are just absolutely ridiculous, and when you've got a player of Yakey's quality piloting one of them, they do look a little bit borderline OP. Yes, objectives hitting the board. Baron up, but Natives opted not to go for it after that winning team fight. And Shwami, Katami, and Smurfy, I think, illuminating us as to their intentions, because in 90 seconds, Hextech Soul is hitting the rift, and with Lions Creed in a little bit of a hole for themselves, it's going to be difficult for them to move in, difficult for them to contest that objective.
Yep. That was a situation where you could conceivably just get the double R coming out of Nami Lucian there and just open up on them, pray that the Rakan is a bit of an idiot, pray that Rusty Sniper gets a bit left open, but they're not feeling that desperate yet. There is no Drake on the map. There will be Drake in a minute. They do have time to find a much better and bit less of a flip fight, but a fight they must find. They can win these. They can win on a catch. They've just struggled to get them because Natives are refusing to give them that opportunity. And Smurf, he's looking for the flank, the classic 8. Well, okay, why did you do that? Why did you do that?
You just wanted to get into the river. Just wanted to get.
I was setting up the whole storyline.
Well, I mean, so the thing is, veteran Lions, they don't like water. So if he's in the river, then he's obviously going to have a combat boost against Lions Creed, who did have a little bit of mid lane priority there, moved into the river, then swiftly got forced out. Resets coming through here from Kasing, and it looks like Lions Creed are giving this up for a moment.
Do Lions swim? Lions can swim, but their physiology does not lend itself well to swimming.
Well, they're cats,
whoa,
so they don't...
Whoa. The next line.
What?
They will only swim if they need to cross rivers or streams during a hunt with their pride. So, in this situation, I think the Lions are perfectly fine to cross that river on that hunt, find that pick, and it looks like they think they found it.
Yeah, it might be Banderas here, but he's going to get blown up before he could even knock back the Forge God, and with your big tank out of the picture, the Lions Creed decide, actually, we're not too interested in crossing that river and back themselves away. Natives lost with a Hextech Soul yesterday. They'll be hoping that today isn't a repeat of that fate.
I mean, all the river objectives, with the exception of the first set of grubs and the first herald, have gone Natives' way, so... Is the nerf just calling themselves Lions? Like, now they can't enter river, they can't contest those objectives. Is that what is fundamentally wrong with the team here, Middlecourt?
Yeah, Tigers Creed. Tigers love going in.
Now
Tigers Creed.
You Tigers swim?
No, Tigers definitely swim.
Well, wouldn't it just be better to always be in your native habitat?
Oh, that was a native. I didn't even clock that. That was a natives pun. I'm really quite annoyed with you now. Actually, Natives positioning topside around the Baron. Lions Creed again looking at them, fishing for a contest, but fighting up against that Hextech Soul is going to be so difficult.
Yeah, 100%, but last time round, right, it was more like Banderas kind of discovered the enemy team rather than they sought them out and were hunting them. This time around, like, they still just need that one big combo, but you have to think if they don't find that on the next fight, the game is just entirely in Natives' favor. I mean, hats off to them. They have denied them picks at every point. Rusty Sniper, the one time it looked like he might be getting caught, haha, Jakey was down here the whole time. I'm able to barely live. We're able to get an early advantage. That's the one time Lions Creed really had the potential to unleash a full combo. Every other time it's been something, right? Some reason why they haven't been able to do it. But this may be their last chance. They have had plenty of them. Right, they have had plenty. They need to make it work now.
Smurf potentially caught here. Jinjo going to go forward onto the Aatrox. Flash going to be forced away. Culling down the Aatrox, but Banderas will fall in trade. It's top laner for top laners. The engage comes through for the rest of Natives, but it's a little bit disoriented as Nulu is so far away. They've still got enough damage, still got enough health to play out the fight as Johan is going to be caught and taken down. Nulu flashing over the wall. Shwami Katami helping him out, pushing them back with the Emperor's Divide. The Lucian's still alive, but everyone else on Lions Creed is falling down. Jinjo gets out of there with a slither of HP, but that's Baron for Natives.
Was that intentional? The Lions Creed is falling down? Like a little bit of alliteration there? Is that... Was that... Because that's
you don't know what alliteration is.
I mean, that was a banger reference if it is matching what I think it was matching in my head. I'm just saying, I'm impressed. Right? I am impressed by that. But what you
think what this is why I'm your favourite.
Yeah, exactly. Right there. But bigger point, right? If the damage,
Banderas engaging 1v4. Yeah, you respect it, but not if he ends up dying in the end. That's a rampage kill for Nulu.
I respect it. Victory or death. The odds were slightly more in favor of one than the other, admittedly, but still.
It's looking like death for Lions Creed here. Nate is able to recover. Now, they've got the Baron, which is going to overlap with the spawn of the Elder. They've got their Hex Tech Soul. They've got the Gold Lead. They've got everything in their favor that says they should be able to close out the game, but they haven't made too many inroads towards Lions Creed's base yet. They've only been able to take down 4 turrets this entire game.
Yeah, now the game gets extremely hard, right? You are against Soul. You are now against Baron Pressure. All of the abilities that you have that are going to be good at countering that Baron Pressure.
Oh my... What?
GG.
I swear, Kasing was on your screen but a moment ago. But he's been wiped up by the bot lane combination of Rusty Sniper and Shawami Katami. One off the board, Lions Creed looking to defend, Nulu pushing in the bot lane.
Regardless of how this goes, though, the method by which natives have been winning this has been very... Ooh, this is the first catch on Rusty.
Sniper potentially caught out. He's going to get ulted by Johan, but he's still alive! He's still alive! You just can't keep a good sniper down! Smurfette and Nulu picking up kills in the fight as well, as the inhib tower drops off the map. We've got 30-second death timers on 3 members of Lions Creed, and the natives will push on forward.
Should be it.
Nexus Towers, a mere formality, and natives tie themselves up at the top of the standings, 4-2, take down Lions Creed.
Hats off to Nulu on that last play there. Lucian did start getting the Channel of Azar off, but then was met by Nazir, steamrolling in hot, ulted him back into his own team there, and thus Rusty Sniper was saved. The 2 times it looked like they were able to make a catch on Rusty Sniper, they were counter-engaged on both times. So credit where credit is due, right? Rusty Sniper, it was a lot on him to make sure he doesn't get caught out there. If he was able to perma-play of the range, there would be very few opportunities for the Lucian, and he was able to do that. Maybe there have been some shaky parts of the split, but this game was definitely not one of them for him. My personal MVP, though, still, we want to talk about this counter-engages. Shaky was on it basically every single time. He was matching where he needed to match. He was trading where he needed to trade. He made it look effortless. Yes, he was on the big tree, but I have to say his consistency in game, all those counters, the way he played all of those picks and all of those chases, brilliantly well done by him.
Yeah, I think Shawami Katami as well. I think it surprised me with how well he actually was able to play. It's so goddamn good. But I think he really showed up as well. And I think generally this has been a massive turnaround for the bottom lane in the span of a day. And if we keep seeing more stuff like this from those 2 guys, I think this is a natives team that can go very, very far. You better not go far, though, as we are jumping to a quick break. Stick around. The analyst desk will break down that game and set us up for our match of the week in a few minutes.
By Steel Series.
At SteelSeries, we make the headsets, mice, and keyboards that the world's best gamers win the most with. And we've been doing it since way back. It's up to you how far you go, but whatever you do, go for glory.
Denied, but the fight not just decided then in the front line though. Take so much damage in the backline. Yankee having fun with his opponent. Triple kill for Rusty Sniper. He's made Jin look like a champion, and it's the 8th. Sniper! Rusty! Sniper, man!
Alone to run rapid across him, but just as moment perfect begins to dash on forward to the Darkin Blades. Execute everyone. Built dead, Alex dead, Edford dead again.
live up to his namesake, and he's dead as well.